Welcome back to the Change in the Perception of Sales, the final episode in our little mini-series with Robin on objection handling. Which,
Getting more enthusiastic with each intro.
Yeah, I know it's been, time is flying. This one though, we talked around objection handling, objection prevention, and within the episodes we've talked around a lot of tips and techniques, but actually a lot of the time it's the way in which we communicate that's really important to make sure these land. So this little episode is going to be all around basically how to master your communication, how to improve your communication as a salesperson. And the things we're going to touch on is all around tonality, body language, and how to actually influence for your communication. So let's talk about tonality, because you've touched on it a little bit with some of the techniques so far. What do we mean by tonality, and how can, as salespeople, we improve that aspect of our communication?
Yeah, I think a lot of time when we are communicating, we're learning, what to say, what questions to ask, what parts of the demo to say, and we hear other people say things and we think, so there's an obsession almost with what is the script, what are the words that I need to say to effectively communicate, and there's a lot less attention put on how we actually say them. What are the sounds that we're producing? How are we pausing? How are we dipping our tonality down or using inflections? People go, I just kind of use my tonality naturally. Well, fine, but now you're not in control of it, or you're not using it to the best effect. So tonality is just, my mum used to say, if I was a bit of a smart ass as a kid, it's not what you said, Robin, it's the way that you said it, So I guess, when you listen to someone who's got a really good command of their tonality, you want to listen more. You're leaning in, you can focus more, and it might not even necessarily be the words that they're saying, it's just in the cadence in their voice. I think it's one of the most important and underrated skills to master for speakers, leaders, salespeople, the lot.
How do we improve it? And to give a bit of context then, typically salespeople, we've heard the phrase in the past, the gift of the gab, and maybe they're seen as being the people that are speaking really quickly, really high energy all of the time. And actually a lot of what you said may contradict that a little bit. So what are maybe some things we can consider to maybe improve our communication as leaders, salespeople, speakers, whatever it may be?
Yeah. So the first thing, and you've touched on it, is slow down. If you realise that when we are in a conversation which matters to us and we start to get nervous, we will speed up a lot without realising it. So if you can slow down by about 30% minimum, you can control the energy in the room. Not only does your speech slow down, but also it allows you to release yourself of any anxiety you might be feeling, and your head gets a bit clearer, and finding those then perfect words to say, you've created that space. Not only that, you're giving the other person who is listening, probably not as attentively as they could be because they're distracted and they're thinking about what they need to say, you're giving them space to digest everything that you're saying, because you undoubtedly speak quicker than most people comprehend. So you want to make sure every word lands. Just slow down 30%. I use this technique where I'll just visualize between us, and I've done it a minute ago, where there'll be like a speedometer, like on a car dashboard. And I'll just imagine it sounds silly, but I'll just imagine the needle coming down between us, like as a translucent kind of visual. And I find myself reminded to slow down. So that's the first thing people need to do. The second thing is to master pausing, so they know how to pace and where to pause before and after the words that they want to have impact. Because when we get a block of text and we just read it all off, it sounds unnatural. And that's why people say, I don't like scripts, it makes me sound unnatural. It's like you have a script whether you like it or not. It's just how good it is. Or if you take your favourite actor, your favourite performance you've ever seen in theatre or film, someone else wrote those words, but it was the actor's job to bring it to life, and it's their tone every time.
pausing. So the first bit slowing down by 30%, and yeah, I've heard somewhere around the comprehension as well. It actually allows the other person to digest everything that you're saying a lot better. Pausing, but why is that important? Why does that really work?
Pausing heightens focus. So when you pause mid-sentence, the other person's brain, for a moment, just goes, something interesting is coming up. Because it's been marked out and it knows that it's distinctive. And you can mark out certain words with gestures and with tonality, but pausing is a really effective way to catch your breath and to let the other person know something important is coming. So if you can learn to strategically pause, it doesn't just help you as a speaker stop running out of breath, but it actually allows the person to focus on what's coming up next. Bit like I did there. In that little nanosecond, there's what's coming up, and it was the word focus on what's coming next, if that's what I wanted you to pay attention to.
Yeah. Interesting. And tonality then, slowing down, consider our pace, pausing is not a bad thing.
No, it's natural in speech, isn't it? Nobody just speaks really fluently. We all pause, we all and ah naturally. So learning to actually use those in conversations, I think, is healthy.
What about body language then?
How to use body language? Yeah,
just to improve our general communication in sales. And I think specifically in maybe a phone-based role, obviously in a face-to-face or over video might be a bit easier, but just body language and the impact it can have in our communication in general.
Yeah, so I look at body language as sort of like the signals that tell me whether what I'm saying is having the desired effect. So if I read someone else's body language, specifically I'm looking for things like, when do they change their body language? Was it positive or negative? And what did I just say that triggered that? So I can know whether there's some buying signals. On the phone, it's lost. On the phone, you can improve perhaps your tonality by your posture. There's definitely some science to say that if you sit up straight, you're going to articulate better because your diaphragm is expanded, or if you were to be slouching and hunched over, that will affect your tonality. I don't think either's good or bad. I think it depends on what effect you want to give off. I don't believe necessarily in the smiling before you dial. It works, it does what it does, but is unbridled enthusiasm what you want on a cold call? That's the question. I definitely am a walker when I'm on the phone. If I'm not called it in, I'm definitely someone who walks and talks. But the way that you hold yourself will impact your tonality for sure.
Yeah. I don't mind smile before you die. I hate the phrase. It's so cringy. But I do agree with you. For the overexcitement, it's not the right thing. It's more the positive mindset beforehand, as opposed to...
Yeah. Depends on what you like. If you want people to be excited, then it's great. But you probably don't want that on a cold call. If you're doing a demo, when I started my career, like before we probably did demos with the video sharing software, I had to talk someone through software. So they have to log in and do their own demo, and they've just got your audio narration. And so in instances like that, at the demo stage or the closing stage, you might want someone to be a little bit more enthusiastic and excited. So that's when I would maybe be a bit more animated. But on a cold call, you want people to be disarmed and relaxed. So I favour, personal preference, a relaxed posture. Yeah. I've made cold calls laying down because it's just quite relaxed and quite chill.
Get the team to do that this afternoon.
Just all lay down. Get a pillow.
Lay down making cold calls.
Yeah.
See how that goes. On the body language piece, again, to get probably a bit more technical, yeah. Let's say we are on Zoom video call or we're in person with a prospect or a client. You mentioned around the change in their body language that could signal that they are either interested or maybe they're not. What would some of those changes in body language actually look like? So there's 3 things to look for if you're looking to understand body language better, where you can read people and know what they're thinking or know how your words are having an effect. The first one is the eyes.
specifically, and this is going to sound really technical, and most people are going to go, there's no way you can do that, but it's someone's blink rate. So when you're engaged in conversation and you're really focused and you're really relaxed, your blink rate will slow down. Yours did it about 20 minutes ago. When I was talking about preventing objections, there was something in that I was saying that I knew was really capturing you. So your blink rate slowed down. The average blink rate is around 20 blinks per minute. So if you notice, and you don't need to know that, and you don't need to count with a stopwatch, but if you just notice that someone is starting to blink more rapidly, you know that you're losing them. That's actually a reaction to stress. Same with pupil dilation as well. This is really hard to see, particularly with dark coloured eyes on a Zoom call. But if you're close enough and someone has light coloured eyes, pupil dilation, if they're dilated, meaning they're widening, the eye is trying to let in more light because they like what they are seeing. So it means that there is actually a focus and, in some instances, attraction, not necessarily of a romantic or intimate level, though that is a thing, but it just means that they're liking what they're seeing. So if you sell a product up close and you show someone it and you happen to notice their people dilate, you know that they're actually interested in what they've seen. Very useful if you sell luxury goods, that people want something which is visually appealing. Their eyeballs get quite small. If we're in an averagely lit room, their pupils are constricted, meaning they're quite small. It means that the eye is trying to stop seeing stuff. It's trying to minimize what it can see. It can be signs of disgust, or I just don't like what I'm seeing, but that's quite hard. And the other thing is is lips. One of the best body language techniques I learned is, how do I know when someone has something on their mind that they don't want to share? And it's the pursing of the lips, which is where the lips press together. So, for example, let's say I'm taking you through a demo, or I'm explaining just what my product is about, and I hit you with a question like how does that sound? And you say, yeah, sounds good. And you do this. That's withheld opinions. There is something on your mind. It doesn't mean that you're lying necessarily. There's no such, that's a myth. You can't really tell if someone is lying. All you can tell is, are they holding something back? So there's no real such thing as detecting lies. There's detecting deceit to some degrees. But the person on the lips is a really good one. If you ever notice someone that does that in conversation, it means there's something on their mind that they want to get out. And that might just be where I want to prevent an objection that we spoke about earlier. If I mention the price, and someone goes, is that a comfortable sort of price range? And someone goes, yeah. Okay. I know there's a budget objection later down the line. Right. So it's the eyes and the mouth, because you're not going to really be able to see beyond kind of like shoulders and chest on a Teams call. So that's where I go.
Interesting. For anyone interested in the psychology behind sales, for sure. Very, very interesting stuff. I was really conscious of how much I was blinking as well. When you talked about blink rate, I was like, keep your eyes open.
Don't blink.
Don't blink. I need to blink. Very interesting stuff. Moving on to the final piece with regards to, well, final piece for today anyway, on improving your communication is all around influence, but specifically ethical influence, which really resonates well with what we're trying to achieve in changing the perception of sales. Yeah. What do we mean by ethical influence?
Is it in this person's best interest to make the decision that I am looking to guide them to? So the way I think of, I've had a reasonable amount of slack over the years for being someone who talks about persuasion and influence, and people saying that persuasion is manipulative, or it's not ethical, and people should make their own decisions. And to some extent, I agree. But let's face it, people don't make good decisions. People need to be influenced to make good decisions. And if I feel in my heart of hearts that I am sharing something with you that is going to solve a real problem for you, then if I've come to that conclusion, and I believe that you've come to that conclusion, but you just need a bit of a nudge to see that. Ethical influence is using the tools and techniques that I have to help you get out your own way and help you make the decisions that you need to make. Not for my interest, because that's when you get like the commission breath, and that's where you're self-serving, and that's why a lot of salespeople get bad reputations. But if we're looking to change the perception, we probably shouldn't swing so much the other way that we are so passive that we're just not selling, because that's not good for us in business, and it's not good for the people that we claim to help. So ethical influence is about taking leadership and allowing people to make the best decisions that they can. And the example that I've used where I got a bit heated in one conversation when someone said, "Oh, it's wrong to influence people. It's wrong to persuade people." I said, "Well, if a loved one of mine was standing on top of this building, ready to throw themselves off, and that was their goal, you have my permission to use every persuasion technique that you have in your arsenal to talk them down. You can't just go, it's up to them, right? Because we have a duty as just humans to help each other out, and sometimes persuasion and influence is necessary. It's how we got to where we are now. So, maybe some people prefer the term influence over persuasion. There's a connotation there. But that was the example that I used, is that persuasion is not, or influence is not inherently good or bad. It's just a tool. And if you can call yourself an ethical and well-meaning professional, you can trust yourself that you'll use those tools responsibly.
I think it's a really nice and powerful place to finish, and really aligns well with changing the perception of sales. Robin, really enjoyed the last 4 episodes. A lot of valuable stuff. I'm sure people listening to will implement a lot of these tactics and techniques into their day-to-day. Massive thank you again for joining us.
It's been nice. Thank you.